Sean Capri, and welcome to We the GamerCast. It publishes on podcasts, and what am I trying to say? It goes on YouTube, youtube.com/MeCapri every Monday. Patrons get it first, slightly earlier. What the heck happened there? It's not like I've done like hundreds of episodes. I don't know how the hell to intro this show. Thank you guys for sticking around. What a mess. What a disaster. But it's a good time. It's Sweet Hangs. If you're new, by the way, here's the deal. Every week I have Sweet Hangs with a stranger or a friend from the internet. We talk about life and games. And if you want to be on the show, we're kind of scheduling it to January at this point, but you can tweet at me at Sean Capri. Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. Okay, I feel real good about that scream. Like I just let it belt out, man. And just before I got in here, I was scrolling on my YouTube as I do, and for whatever reason, Dave Grohl, Smells Like Teen Spirit at the Ford, got 5.6 million views. And I just like, this is literally off my phone right now, man. It's holy crap. This song gets me pumped up. I've been like appreciating, I guess, just a whole bunch of stuff lately. I don't know what it is, but like music is like hitting differently. Everybody's listening, maybe, or a lot of people are listening to Christmas music, of course, getting into the Christmas spirit right now. And we're doing that as well around the house. But one Christmas present I got back in probably the year 2000 or 2001, somewhere around there, maybe 99. Anyways, my sister got me CDs. Remember when you used to get each other like gifts, like you got each other CDs or tapes? Man, you don't get people music for Christmas anymore. You don't get gifts like those are such a no-brainer. In Canada, you'd go to a store called HMV, man. You'd go to and load up on CDs and DVD. Oh, goodness gracious. The nostalgia is hitting me hard, you guys. I'm getting old. But my sister got me Metallica S&M. It's a symphony, sort of like a live performance with a symphony. And I listened to it like crazy in and around Christmas because that's when I got it. So I don't know. My phone was on shuffle the other day, and a song from this album came up. I'm like, this is getting me into the Christmas spirit. So I've been listening to a lot of that lately. So I'm a weird guy, you guys. That's why you stick with me. I think maybe that's why you're considering leaving at any moment. But I'm glad that you guys don't, and many of you have been sticking around for a long time and in the best way possible. And that's right. That's at patreon.com/MeCapri. And quickly, while I'm on the topic, why don't I go ahead and thank the most amazing people in the planet? Like our Capremium producers, Dallas Ford, Lee Navarro, he's the fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive Extra Life team, and I'm going to be talking to him tonight. And he's going to be on the next episode of We the GamerCast. Jonathan Brown, the man behind the music on the Xbox Drive and the Nintendo Drive. You can support him at youtube.com/PMENT. Platinum producers, Robbie Bobby Miller and Trucker Sloth. Trucker Sloth, by the way, supporting also on Twitch as well. Thank you. So many of you guys also supporting on Twitch, but it reminds me because we were playing Halo last night. So thank you, Trucker Sloth. Gold members, Argo, Brendan Myers, Dallas Robbins, Dano, Emily O'Kelly, Foolish Fuji, Joel Brooks, Jose Jimenez, Mac Time, Marcus O'Neill, Mr. and Mrs. Nasty Boots, RJ Kern, Skinny Matt, and Xavier Reyes. Holy crap, I'm kind of out of breath. Mostly because I'm like judo chopping every one of those names, like all the energy you guys hear. It's just like Argo, boom, boom. I'm doing like elbow chops. I'm all over the place. It's a wonder I don't knock over my coffee and or Diet Coke, because you guys know that I have that here as well. Okay, we're gonna get into the chat in just a second here. Seth Sturgill is the guest today, as you can see by the title of the show. But man, lots going on. Our review for Halo is up. You guys can see that youtube.com/MeCapri, also on the Xbox Live podcast feed. Please, if you haven't already, go check it out. Play the game and then rewatch it maybe again. See what you think about all of that. We're going to be doing our Game of the Year chat, whatever we're going to call it. We're not really doing like a full-on awards, but that's coming up. We're going to record that on Wednesday this week. So that's all of us. Ryan, Matt, Garrett, and Kato. We're all going to, and me, by the way, I'm going to be there too. We're all going to be talking about the year because, Bad Bit just tweeted out a minute ago as I record this, what a year it's been. What did he list? He listed Metroid, Halo, Returnal, and Guardians of the Galaxy. And it's like, dude, let's just take stock. It's just that time of year. Everything is tough. There's a lot going on. But especially in video games, we can, I think we can appreciate the year. I'm going to anyways. I don't care if you guys don't, but I'm going to appreciate it because it's been a heck of a year, and it's very timely for our group, our like all the contributors with the Yumi Capri group. We're all going to get together and talk about the great games that happened this year. I'm really happy with just how the year went on. I beat a lot of games, as it turns out. I still haven't gotten to everything, but that's that's the way it goes. I would say I'm mostly in a pretty good headspace right now, you guys. My back is failing me. I will say I gotta get a little bit more. I'm being kind to myself for not being as active as I'd like to be, but at a certain point, this is going to be detrimental to my health and to my just well-being. We took the kids skiing yesterday, and I'm like, I was carrying Ellie because we had some freezing rain, and getting through some spaces was a little tricky, so I had to pick her up. And I'm like, goodness gracious, I'm a little winded in here, and with the mask on, I'm just sucking my own breath. So there you go. So I gotta get on that. But I also just got sent a box full of cake pops, and they are they're delicious. So as my gut sags forward, my back is like, come on, man, we can only handle so much. So I'm gonna be getting back on that train right after I do this. Get this out the door. I have my street bike. My road bike, whatever you call it, my real like bicycle is outside or in the garage. I've got a little trainer on it. You sit on this little thing and turns the wheel. I'm going to get going on that tonight. So there's that. Got lots of things. I am in that mood, man. You guys probably hear a lot of energy in my voice. Like I am endeavoring to do all of the things. I am a week away from my Christmas vacation. I'm going to be off for so long. I am so excited. I love this time off, man, which I also want to be mindful because sometimes I set myself up for like huge expectations, like this is going to be amazing, and it's average at best or at worst disappointing. So I'm really excited to be able to step away from work. I want to like draw something. I want to even, man, I want to do so many things. I want to do all the things. I want to be where the people are, whatever that song goes. Okay. So much on my mind, you guys. I'm going everywhere. Why don't we focus in here? Why don't we get to the episode? Why don't we get to the chat with Seth Sturgill, who I think we just became best friends. I think this is quintessential We the GamerCast, an instant classic. You guys are going to love it. You're going to love it. Follow Seth on Twitter at $2Hero and make sure to check out his expertly and masterfully put together and produced Nintendo podcast. It's called All N, a Nintendo podcast. Go subscribe. All the links are in the show notes. Just go do that. Click all the things. Support Seth. He's a wonderful person. I'm so glad we got around to this because I was on All N a little while ago, and I'm like, well, I've obviously got to get these guys on We the GamerCast. They're wonderful. Eric, you're next. You're coming up soon. I promise you 2022. A lot of you guys on the list, man. We're going to get to you all. We're not slowing down anytime soon. So here he is, Seth Sturgill. You cannot not listen to podcasts. I feel like you're I mean, you almost could probably listen to 2 times as many podcasts if you listen to it twice as fast. Like just about. I don't know if the math exactly works out. It might even be a multiplier. It might even be like, you might even be able to have more than that. It might be a exponential number. I just
work here. I don't know. I just work here. That's my go-to response.
Nobody knows.
Why do I have you
I
up
think there's
on,
an accelerant.
I have you up on like Skype twice. It's weird. Hang on a second.
Am I coming in your ears twice?
No, you're not, but
okay,
it's just
that's
like
good. That
Skype
would be annoying.
has... Okay, cool. I think it's good. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on.
Skype is Skype. I'm sticking with it, man. I apologize, but also it works like it works really, really good. I'm not gonna lie. Good. Like it's actually, I've been doing this for like 6 years now, which is insane. And I've tried other things, I promise you, and I keep coming back to this. And it could be, yeah, but I feel like it could be like, what's wrong with me? You know, that I keep using broken ass Skype for the show. Like I keep going back to it. Like everybody else has figured it out. Like I might be one of the only podcasts that uses Skype, for God's sakes. But
well, it's like I still everything that I do and probably will always do is I always edit in Audacity.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not leaving Audacity. There's no chance. But nobody talks about Audacity like they talk about Skype. Like you don't understand.
I guess. Yeah.
Every week it's, oh, you're using Skype. Running the guess, man.
It is a very like 2010 app, I guess. Yes. But hey, I'm all for it, man. I'm just happy to be here. I would have downloaded whatever. You could have been like, hey, download download whatever. I would have downloaded it. So
the funny thing is, I love how you were trying to think of something older and more archaic than Skype, and nothing came to mind.
And I couldn't.
Like, there's nothing. Yeah. You could have said, like, download AOL. ICQ. Yeah, exactly. MSN Messenger. Just like, let's do this the old-fashioned way, and I'll read the transcript afterwards. That'd be an interesting way to do this. Like, let's just carrier pigeon this.
Message. I'd be all about that.
That's the new.
That'd
that's
cool.
What's old is new again, man. We're gonna start a new trend, I think. I've wanted to do like I have to bring this back up again. Sometimes when I say things on the show, which this is the show, I have to be like, hey, I want to be like clear with people now instead of tricking them into like half an hour and going like, yeah, this is it. Like I'm not keeping you for another hour after this. Like this is
right.
This is it. But once upon a time, somebody had sent in, I think I had a guest on who did some fan fiction writing. I want to say they did like a Back to the Future fanfic. And I always wanted to do like a reading of it and like have a bunch of us. I feel like you would actually be really good for this. I feel like you're really emotive and you'd be like, you really step into a role. I think that'd be super fun for much. It's
so funny that you say that because I've always felt like I'm not emotive. Like I've always felt like I'm very like monotone or whatever.
No way.
I have every now and then somebody will like compliment me on my voice and I'm like, seriously, I hate my voice.
Oh, still? You've been doing this a long time, man.
Yeah. I have. I've been doing the podcasting thing for my first podcast was in 2011.
Yeah.
So it's been a minute, and I've had to hear an inordinate amount of my own voice editing all of that stuff. So yeah. Still, I guess I don't know.
At least get used to it. Like I don't know if you.
I'm used to it. I'm numb to it. I guess.
Yeah. It's a good voice, man. I don't know. I love you on I said this when I was on your guys' show. You're just very natural at this. I guess that kind of comes with, I don't know, how many hours do you think that you've put into it? Like they say like 10,000 hours and you become a master or something. Like, are you at 10,000 at this stage over 10 years?
So that's the thing is I've been doing it for right around 10 years and I've never really stopped. Like It's been to varying degrees of success. Like I've never like All In is by far the most successful show I've ever been a part of.
It's great, man. But, it really is.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. But it's like that has been the only thing. Everything else has just been screaming into the void. Just like nobody listening, two people listening to it. You know. But I've never really stopped. I always got to be doing something. I can't slow down.
Why?
I can't stop.
Why is that? Like that would destroy other people. That would. How do I put this even harsher? No, like how? Yeah, like I think that a lot of people they worry about that. I think if people are looking to start a podcast, they worry that nobody's going to listen, and then it almost becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think too, where you worry about it so much that you just like you hear and smell and feel the desperation coming through the microphone directly into your earwax. It's like, ugh, get out of there. It's like a nasty bug. Ugh, Star Trek.
How real do you want me to get when answering that question?
I want it real, man. It's funny that you say that because I don't know. I've got some questions. I usually write down some just like bullet points. I'm like, I don't know what it is. I feel like Seth and I are gonna get real tonight, man. So yeah, let's jump into it, dude.
All right. Well, let's go. Okay. So I'm gonna start. When I was a kid, okay, where this is just instant. We're like 5 minutes into this instant therapy.
I know,
session.
right? I know.
I definitely felt like I always had stuff that I wanted to say, but never felt like I really could, either because the things I was saying would be written off as like, well, okay, that's dumb or whatever. Not by like my family or whatever, but this may shock you, but I wasn't popular in school. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and so I always felt like I had opinions, I had a voice, I had things I wanted to say, and just never really had the outlet to do it. And I've also, at the same time, I've also been very, very creative my entire life.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to create stuff. Just that has never gone away. That's always been there. And, it just podcasting to me was like the perfect outlet of like, I had a stint there where I was really into writing. Mm-hmm. I would write blog posts. I did that for a long time. Nobody was reading it.
Yep.
I did the same thing. Then like, yeah, I'm just typing. I'm like, is this what I want to do? Do I want to write something that nobody's going to read? Well, not really, because then only so much of your voice is actually out there, and it's not as natural. It's not as effective as just saying it.
Right.
So when I got into podcasts, the first podcast I got really into, I don't know if you're familiar with Idle Thumbs.
I don't think
so. Have you ever heard of them?
It sounds like one of those. It sounds like it's a great name. Like, there should be a show called that. Yeah.
They're not around anymore, sadly, but it was basically that. I love that show. That show was like a lot of game designers, Chris Remo, Jake Rodkin, Steve Gaynor. We're all on that show. And anyway,
gosh, it does sound familiar, really man. Holy cow! Yeah.
Yeah, I got super into that show, and I was like, hang on, like you can, this counts. Like you can just like turn a mic on and just say what you want to say, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I just had like my old like Turtle Beach headset that I used for gaming at the time.
Yeah.
And I just recorded my cousin and I's conversation while we were playing Halo or whatever it was, you know? And before you knew it, I had a podcast. And again, I just never stopped. Like I feel like regardless of like how it's received or how many people are listening to it, it didn't exist until I made it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. I love that so much, dude. Yes.
Yeah. And now it does. Like now it exists. And regardless of the quality,
cool.
regardless of if somebody like likes it or listens to it or responds to it, the making it is the important thing for me. And it always has been. I just love the process of making it. So
keep going, because I'm writing down things that I need to turn into like motivational posters on my wall a little bit later. It didn't exist until I created it. Is like, dude, we don't usually do like titles for the show, but like I feel like that should be like the title of the show. That is so, because it shifts your entire like appreciation model like entirely. Right. It's not views or listens or whatever dollars. It's like, look at what I did. Like it could have. Right. If I chose to do any other action or inaction, like it could have just like life would have gone on, the world would have spun another time, and it would have like not been there. But because I chose to sort of like turn my attention towards this microphone, this computer, this whatever, this endeavor, now it's a thing. And isn't that cool? That like you can, it's like in your, dude, this is like super existential. It's like it's in your mind, it comes out your face, and now it's a thing that is so cool. I could just like stick on that for 12 hours straight, man. Because like what else you could do a trillion other things with your time, I think. And who knows if they would make you as happy, if they would, or who knows where your life would be, right? Like after 10 years of doing this. And I want to jump back to something you said at the start that really resonated with me, because I think you and I have, I feel like there's probably 2 decades between me and most of my guests, but that's just me, advancing in age. But I feel like we have kind of similar paths in two fronts. One was writing was the start of kind of our endeavors, which I did as well. Because I think the barrier entry was pretty low. Like you could pull up a notepad or WordPress or whatever it was, Tumblr. You could kind of do that. Then podcasting kind of got in the same kind of zone. Like people discovered that Audacity and a Skype is something that you could use forever. But something else that you said that kind of like resonated with me big time was like because I was the second kid. I have an older brother, then there's me, then my younger brother, and my younger sister. So I'm kind of like smack dab in the middle, and the cliche in every sense of the term. Sure. Like I probably should just like sit on my hands at the dinner table, wait for the grown-ups to kind of have their conversation, and then politely wait to leave.
1000%.
You know what I mean? Like so like we probably grew up as the shy kids, and probably really would surprise a lot of people around us those days to learn decades later that we just like have put thousands of hours of talking into the internet, right?
We had a lot to say, and we just never had the avenue to say it, And again, I don't think it was any sort of like malicious thing from friends and family, but like I've always been the listener, I've never been the talker.
Yes. Yeah.
Even in like my friendships, relationships, whatever, I've always been the guy and I'm actually the oldest. I'm the oldest of 9. And
you have 9 kids in your family? Oh my God. Okay, there's something there. Like same parents and everything? Is it a blended family?
No, not same parents. My parents divorced when I was like 5 or 6. Yeah. And they both had other marriages and had other kids, and it's like this whole convoluted family tree. But,
you want to draw it out for me? I've always like pull out a whiteboard or something.
Just
we'll make it the episode art.
But it's like a long convoluted thing. But I've always been kind of like it's just like every cliche, the older sibling who shoulders the weight, and like is there for everybody, and I
do not know that cliche.
Stoic.
I don't know that one. Sorry.
It was funny. My wife.
Sorry, Josh, my older brother.
Hey, respect. You got to respect Josh for that, because he's been through it. No, but my wife shared with me from the Disney movie Encanto that just came out.
Oh yeah, I gotta watch it. No, it's on my list. Yeah.
but there's like an older sister character, and there's a whole song about that, about how she has to like bear the weight, and she has to be the strong one. She has to be the strong.
Yeah, I can't wait to bawl my eyes out at another Disney song. Totally. Yeah, Coco, I'd still like, just thinking about it makes me wispy. Holy crap, dude.
Right. Yeah, my wife sent that to me because she knew I would relate to it, and that's how I've always been, though. I've always been like the guy. I'm the problem solver. I'm the listener. You know what I mean? So it is the one avenue where I can be the talker. You know?
Yeah. Do you enjoy? So you sort of end up being the listener in all those roles, like, but do you enjoy it? Are you tired of it? Like, where are you at with that, man? Because I like I said, I've been there, but it's like, I keep getting there, man. Like, this was in the past. I feel like things are much more balanced now. I feel like this has allowed me to become much more confident in like the other person not talking for a second, because I have like just a sentence that I'd like to, blurt out here. So I've gotten much more comfortable there. But yeah, like, has that changed for you at all? Are you still the default listener?
I would say that I'm still the terminology, to get into like MMO terminology that my wife and I have determined for it, is that I'm the tank of the party, right? I'm the social and emotional tank, right?
Wow.
So like when I tank everybody else's DPS. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
dude.
That's what it is. And is that tiring sometimes? Yeah. And there's sometimes like when you the song from Encanto I was talking about is all about pressure building up. Yeah. And it's and sometimes you do sort of feel like you're the stoic guy who takes on everybody else's stuff, but every now and then you crumble a little bit and you have weakness, you know?
Yeah, big time.
So I definitely feel that, but I think that like what you said there about how like everything's more balanced now, the big thing that when we started All In and we actually entered into a community, that was such a huge game changer to me. Like, because like I said before, it's just screaming into the void, and sure, some people liked it or whatever, but now I feel like I'm really talking to people and meeting people and feeling like I can connect with people, and like, I've made some super close friends that I would not have made if we never started that podcast.
Best. Yeah, man.
And I feel like that has given me like so much. I'll never be able to repay what this thing has given me, because it just totally makes you feel like you are welcomed and like you have people that you can lean on. And that's something that I've never had before.
Is that a new sort of realization that you've come to with that like community sense? Is that in the last couple of years? Like, where did that kind of, there must have been something that kind of clued you into there's something here.
It's honestly, and this sounds totally cheesy or whatever, but it's honestly something that I like rediscover literally every day.
That is kind of cheesy, but I'll take it. I'm just kidding. No, that's amazing. No, I love
but
that.
It's true.
It totally is.
So I'll have moments like just this morning, right? I reached out to Andros. Shout out to Andros from the Nintendo Pals.
Shout out to Andros. Yeah, man.
Love the Nintendo Pals. I reached out to him this morning. I was like, hey, dude, I have an idea for like a video or a stream or something. You should like teach me how to play Fortnite. I've never played Fortnite. Teach me. I'm the, whatever. Like, he's all into Fortnite. He's put like 1,000 hours into it or whatever. I've literally never played it. I'm like, teach me how to play Fortnite. And that spurred into, we wound up just chatting the entire morning about content and about ideas we had, and what are you doing here, and like, do you have, can you give me advice on this? And that's just, I have never had that anywhere else, man. Ever.
Yeah, to be able to bounce ideas of something that, like, I don't know, have you ever come to this realization too of like how just how central it is to who you are? Like, I've done a lot of exploration on this, like, and how grateful I am that I have this outside of work, because a lot of people kind of like their identity is their job, and it's like, golly, like, how quickly you can get fired, like, how quickly that can change, like how many jobs you're gonna have in your life, like, for it to be the sole kind of piece to who you are and what you identify with is like, man, no thank you. Bobby and I used to talk about it. It was one of the first things Bobby and I mentioned, was just like, he loved the idea of just being able to like come home and then like do something else, because he felt like it kept him youthful. It kind of kept that childlike energy to him. So totally I appreciate that big time. And the like, to be able to talk to somebody and have them bounce ideas back at you with the same, or if not more, enthusiasm that when you've got, it's like, that is what life is about, my friend. Like that's what you search for that. Like, and many of us find it in our partners and to varying degrees about video games maybe, but like there's something there of like, there's another person, I'm going to come at you with an idea and they like, but also we could do this. And also there's this. And I don't know, it feels very childlike, even just that. There's an innocence to it. There's an excitement. There's a spontaneity, I think. And it's very exciting, especially as our lives get to be none of those things, not exciting, not spontaneous. Like none of all those things are taken away. And this gives a little, we all agree, we're in this, our wives, our partners or whoever, like understand that this is an important part. So yeah, go into the basement, go have your fun because this is important to you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got this bedroom that I'm in. This is a spare bedroom, and this is just my space.
Yeah, dude.
Just my office. And so my wife understands like how important it is to me. I would go even crazier and more neurotic than I already am.
Yeah,
if I didn't have this.
That's the secret for anybody wondering. That's the key. Is like you got to show just a little crazy. Yeah, just have the threat of an absolute meltdown on edge, and so you just like, well, I got to have this because otherwise. We all know what could happen. It could be an absolute disaster. You're right about that.
You wouldn't like me when I go off the handle. That's true. That's all it is.
Tell me more. Tell me more about your wife. What's she like, man?
She's awesome, man. She's just a great, like, silly, warm, kind-hearted person, and she's really awesome. We met online. That's kind of interesting.
Very cool.
I guess. When we met, we've been together for close to 11 years. And when we first got together and we told people we met online, that was the era where that was weird.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, so we've been together for a long time. We've been through a lot of stuff together, man. Yeah. It's one of those, she's my war buddy, like we feel like we've been in the trenches together kind of thing.
Yeah.
She's awesome. Animal lover. She just made me kind. Yeah.
She made you kind. I can't imagine you not ever kind.
I think so. I feel like I was a very, and maybe this is related to some of the things I had mentioned earlier, being that kind of like, that kind of tank angst or whatever. But yeah, I was definitely like, when I was a kid, I was angry, like I was just an angry kid and very negative. And I feel like, her and like it's just made me positive, like both by knowing her and meeting her and bouncing off of her and kind of like tempering the blade, like tempering each other. That's made me more of a positive person. And then also like my approach to content creation is I take a very like positive stance on content creation, and positivity is just something that has become super important to me. So
I'd love to
feel
see
like
you before. I'd love to see this because it seems like I can't imagine any. Like, were you listening to like Marilyn Manson? Like, what was the deal, man? Like, how are
I had my face. I had my face.
We all did. That's why it comes from a place of knowing.
Yeah,
emo.
Sure.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, sure. But no. I just had like a very kind of like. I think it's easy to be cynical. I think especially when it comes to when I first started making content creation. When I first started making podcasts and getting into content creation. I was very much, you start to look at like, you think it's cool or funny if you just like crap on everything, or if you just like have something, you think you're being interesting because you have something negative to say. And that's not the case, and not to like avoid criticism. I don't think that you should avoid criticism for the sake of being positive, but make it constructive.
Yeah.
Rather than destructive.
Gosh, we are totally cut from the same cloth, man. Like, I mean, I had a feeling anyways, but yeah, I mean, and that's a fine line to balance. I don't know that I've quite cracked that code yet either, but it's definitely kind of like where my attention is going these days. Is I don't want to turn away from hard conversations and critical thought and deconstructing things. And sometimes that can look and sound and maybe even feel like negativity, but I don't know. I think there is a clear difference of just like being negative for negative's sake, and I try to catch myself. And I think there's a reputational thing there as well too. I think people notice.
There is.
I think people notice when you're going too far in either direction, where it's just like maybe a little realism would be good. Like you could we get what you're going for, Mr. Sunshine. Sure. Like that's great, but like maybe
sure.
Not everything can be amazing. So yeah, like that. I think that has to be a mix in there too.
Here's the thing, Sean, is that it is easy to be negative, and it's also kind of fun sometimes to be negative. Even
you get the reaction out of people.
Yeah, you get the reaction, and like there's some people who respond to that. But what I've noticed, and maybe this just comes from doing it as long as people like you and I have, what I've noticed is that it is so much more gratifying to take like the road less traveled. It's so much more gratifying to be like to kind of, it's like the Mr. Rogers approach. You know what I mean? Where it's like, yeah, people might have like made fun of him back then, but now we all look back on Mr. Rogers like, man, what a positive and warm, timeless dude, and like that's the kind of thing, like hate isn't timeless, being mad about something isn't timeless.
And it hardly ever ages well.
No, it doesn't. And like being happy and positive about something ages so much better, and I think resonates with a lot more people in the long run. And you might end up having like some people who just show up because they like to see you crap on something, but I think that if you have that sort of like endearing positivity, then I think that will cast a wider net ultimately.
Yeah, man.
That's kind of my approach to it, I guess.
So did you come to that? You kind of mentioned like it's like we've been doing this a long time. Like, is it because I think something that resonates with me is like I don't even know if it's my goals or just my reason for doing it, but like something like this, an energy has changed within me, I would say, over the last like 6 years. Like every year, and I love New Year's, by the way. Like I love the notion of just like there's a fresh start. We just kind of had like a crazy year, whatever it was. Usually December's kind of nuts as well. So like having a bit of a a start line, like because otherwise it's just forever. It's infinite until like it's all over. And I don't know that I love that.
Marking the distance.
Yes. Yes. How do you do that? Like that seems to resonate with you. Like what comes to mind when you think about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think it's really important to, like I said, marking the distance, I think is important, and recognizing change in yourself is really important. Because we all change. I'm a different person than I was even just a year ago. Like I think it's super. And if you're not changing, and if you aren't changing for the better, or if you aren't able to recognize change in yourself, then I would argue that you aren't thinking about yourself enough.
I completely agree.
I think that like we're humans, so we're inherently kind of selfish, but I think it's really important for us to stop and take a look at ourselves mentally, emotionally, and have that kind of quiet time to process who am I as a person and where am I today versus where I was yesterday.
This is so freaking cosmic. I rarely do this where I share what's actually on my page before I jump in, because I just never really know where things are going to go. And the last thing I want to do is like be underprepared. But I literally have a question. How are you living life differently now than last year, 10 years ago? Because I was thinking about you and your podcast journey over the last 10 years, which is your pin tweet, of course. But I was like, for some reason, I feel like I'm going to be able to ask Seth about like life a year ago, and it just has naturally come up in our conversation. Like it's not even anything I'm like looking down here, and I think it's just like it's just cosmic. So yeah, like what's different now versus last year?
Oh my
like
gosh,
yeah. Sounds like maybe
hugely different.
Yeah, okay.
Hugely different. Yeah, I mean, my life this time last year was hugely different. I was, first of all, I wasn't in a house. I was in an apartment. So a little over a year ago, my cat passed away, and he was my best friend, man. I really, that was actually how I connected with Donnie, from PSVG. His cat passed away, and we had a very similar. His cat passed away. Kirby passed away very similarly to my cat Ollie, and
devastating.
So anyway, that happened, and I think of like life as like punctuation marks of like things that happen where when that happened, I'm like, I'm changed. Like that was a moment that changed me. When he passed away, that for sure changed me and taught me so much. And so that happened. That was a hugely, changing moment in my life. Moving into this house, going from an apartment to a house, huge change.
Yeah.
Things in my marriage have changed. Things in my work life have changed. The fact that, All In, which is now like a year and a half old, but I mean, we started All In June of 2020. And so that obviously I belong to like this awesome community now. And I've made so many friends, people I've even met in real life. I met Dan from RetroLogic. Shout out to Dan from RetroLogic.
Shout out to Dan.
I met up with Dan when I went to Austin. I'm like, that's a real connection. I met that dude. like we hung out, we had coffee, and I hugged him. You know what I mean? Like, it's a real connection.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's just from a year, to say nothing of the fact that last year was COVID. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, yeah,
so,
man. Yeah. I think you and I are, and again, maybe it's just that we've been doing this a long time, but you start to get pretty reflective, I think, too, like, because I mean, I don't know if we're really even forcing it. Like, some people might go, like, you're kind of like trying to make something out of nothing because you put so much time into it, but those are all very real things of the podcast creation or of moving. How did you go from, like, what did it take for you guys to go from the apartment into the house? Was it like, was that that seems like a major kind of like life milestone for you? So yeah, how did you get that in motion?
It was a couple of things. It was space. Our cat was actually a part of it, because he didn't have enough room to run around and play, you know, and so he was kind of a selling point. But it was also just kind of like, you know, like when I turned 30, I turned 30 last year, and it was like I felt like it was time to be in a house. It was time to pull up the britches and be a big boy. You know what I mean? So there was a little bit of that. My wife, you know, like it felt like the adult thing to do, or maybe there was an expectation there, or we had just outgrown it too. You know, even though my wife and I were married at that time, it still kind of felt like you were just kids living in an apartment. You know what I mean? So I guess it was just like a growing up milestone. But to touch back on something that you were kind of saying about being reflective, that resonated with me, because there's a quote. I'm going to butcher this quote. It's from La La Land. I don't know if you've ever seen La La Land. I love that movie.
I haven't, but for whatever reason, I feel like you're going to quote Miyamoto for some reason.
No.
The famous La La Land quote. Delay your games, they'll be great.
Near the beginning of that movie, I'm going to butcher the quote, but Ryan Gosling's character says something to the effect of like you say romantic like it's a dirty word. You know what I mean? Like you say reflective like it's a dirty word. Like, why is it bad to be reflective? Why is it, you know, why is that like weird or quirky, or like, why are we the odd ones for stopping and thinking and making a big deal out of the little things? Like, why isn't it okay to take the little things and blow them up and make them big and make them romantic and make them sentimental? Like, why can't everything be that way all the time? Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I think it's actually pretty important to hyper focus on things sometimes, and to make a small thing big. I think that is so much of the value of life, is taking something and being like, man, that is so important to me, actually. And
dude.
Like, that is actually such a big deal to me, and I didn't realize it until just now. And isn't that awesome that I have that now?
One of the things my wife Chelsea has done, basically from the moment we've been dating, and from the moment I've been doing this podcast thing, like back in the early days, I was very, very shy about it. I didn't tell anybody for years I was doing this stuff. And Chelsea was never like that. Like, I don't know if she was doing it on purpose because she saw that I was being kind of shy about it, or if she just didn't think it was a big deal to like hide it from anybody. But she would just be like, Sean's going to do his podcast. I'm like, don't tell anybody like that. That's like, that's what I'm doing. Like, I don't want anybody to know that. But she was just very like, who cares? Like, it is what it is. And I've definitely come to appreciate that. I want to touch on something that you said there about, like, you know, making things big. I think people do that all the time, but about bad things. I think we take things that suck and things that, like, mistakes that we've made and things like that, and we make those things gigantic, and we spend dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of hours, like, deconstructing that and like going in circles and all these things. And I had this like realization. This is actually a work thing that I came to realize that I've translated into just life, which is like, man, if we only like spend as much time deconstructing and debriefing like the little wins, instead of going like, high five everybody, move on, like, next thing. Right. It's like, I'm sorry, that's like the most demotivating thing you could possibly experience. So you can look forward to a nice all day, you know, whipping if something goes wrong, and if things go right or even like better than expected, it's like, good, and that's it. That's so backwards to me.
It is. It is, and that's such a, like, we as a culture decided at a certain point that it wasn't enough to just be happy. Like, it wasn't enough to just enjoy stuff and to just be happy about things. And like, I think to one of the things that I really like about you is I do kind of resonate with you sometimes, because I'll, you'll be like, oh man, like I have my Diet Coke, and isn't something as small as getting a Diet Coke from McDonald's, isn't this awesome? And I'm like, yeah, man, it is awesome. It is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Absolute vindication. Thank you, man. And it's also that, but also for my wife and I, it's like, that's our gesture for each other. Like, can I go get you a drink? Like, that's just like, and it's silly because it's a pop or soda or whatever. Like, but like, it's huge and we like it, and it's around the corner, and it's just outside of like downstairs in the basement, where it's like kind of a nice thing to do for the other person. And yeah, man, makes me, and this stupid decaf coffee I'm drinking tonight is burning my tongue off because I made it just before this, and this Yeti mug is some sort of weird feat of engineering, and who the hell thought of this thing? Speaking of, this didn't exist until somebody made it. It's like, the hell is, I think it's gotten hotter since I made the coffee. I don't really understand how that works.
By the way, my wife and I totally have that too. Our version of that is when she gets home from work, I always unlock the door for her. And
nice.
Like, she hates fumbling with the keys.
Does my wife.
And undoing,
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like our little love language thing, is the door is always unlocked when she comes home. And
that's very sweet. So it's funny. It's funny that you say that, because just earlier today, and my wife is the same. Like, if she's having to like fumble with it, like it'll be like, why is the door locked? Like and for me, sometimes like a muscle memory, like I don't even remember doing it. I just do it. But our door doesn't seal correctly if it's not deadbolted kind of thing, like, because our house apparently is built on a swamp and everything's sideways and whatever, so nothing really closes, and so it's winter here. It's like real cold, and I'm a dad, so I'm looking around, I'm turning off all the lights, and I'm making sure the thermostat is where I set it, and I'm making sure that we're not heating the outdoors. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. In Louisiana, you know how this goes. You know exactly what I'm saying.
Totally.
You have no idea. You have no idea, Seth, what it's like to walk by a door and get a chill and go like, ooh, God, that's like, I'm gonna get frostbite.
Yes and no, not frostbite levels, but it actually, you'd be surprised at how cold it gets here. It's like 50 degrees here right now. It's kind of cold.
No, it doesn't even count. No, you made it worse. You actually made it worse by trying to connect with me on that one.
I'll preface this though, Sean. I live in Louisiana, but I'm from Chicago. So
that shit's cold. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty damn cold there.
Why are you not in? Is this part of the 9 kids, the family dynamic?
Yeah. So my dad, my biological father, and my mom, he was in the military when I was born, and got stationed here in Louisiana. And when they split up, essentially my mom stayed. She had a job and all this, and so growing up, I would spend a year there and a year here.
Holy shit! A year?
Yeah.
That seems really hard, man, because like you go to school, like you're like, man, you'd get that even if you went to a different school in the same city, but you're in like completely like, I feel like Chicago to Louisiana. I don't know too much about the world, I don't think, but I feel like that is like maybe culture shock going back and forth.
It is. It definitely is. They're very, very different places, and I kind of, I don't regret it at all, though. I mean, it was hard. Like, it was definitely all of the, the teen angst that you might expect. That comes with all of that. Definitely did. But I definitely, like, I take both of those as pieces of what makes me. Yeah. And I don't regret any of that, because like I have a little bit of that northern Chicago sensibility, but then I also have the kind of like, these southern sensibilities too, of like taking things slow, being nice and kind to people, which does not happen in Chicago.
Sure.
But you can, I kind of have my cake and eat it too. So I appreciate the hand that life dealt me there in that respect.
Man, just like a full-on gratitude thing here, dude. I love this, man. What about holy crap, there's so much here, dude. What is going on with this? I want to shift gears a little bit. What about like this Nintendo podcast community? I feel like something is happening. I don't know what got like poured into the mix here. The Nintendo dads are continue to like, rotate their cauldron, and then just a bunch of us kind of get poured on in there and stuff happens. Andros, I think, showed up, and then like Dan pops up out of wherever, and then you're doing your thing for 10 years. And I just feel like there's something here. And I don't know if you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but like, what's your take on the Nintendo kind of like podcasting community, and how do we find each other, man? What the heck?
Yeah, it's weird. The way I got into because I just like, I think you've talked about this on previous, but I listen to so many podcasts.
Man.
when I don't listen. I love music and I'm really into music, but like if I'm not actively listening to music, I've got some podcasts going. Yeah. I have got like 20 plus podcasts in my feed. Like it's insane. And so anyway, when the pandemic first hit, I was pretty much just holed up in my apartment doing nothing but playing Animal Crossing. And I get into these weird phases where I want to listen to things about the thing I'm into in that moment. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, but big
like,
time.
I've been a Nintendo fan my entire life, and I was playing a Nintendo game. I was in a very Nintendo headspace, so I wanted to listen to Nintendo content. So that's where I found Nintendo Dads. That's where I found you and Bobby. Like, and I just started eating that stuff up to the point where I would just play Animal Crossing literally all day and go through your backlogs, you know?
Yeah.
And that was when, I was doing a podcast with my cousin at the time, and we had been doing it for about 3.5 years. And we did it every week for like 3.5 years, and multiple shows also. And we were getting a little bit burnt out on it, to be honest. And it was winding down. It was kind of the beginning of the end. Like we kind of saw that it was coming to a close, and our schedules weren't lining up as well anymore. It was kind of becoming a chore to get it together, you know? So I kind of knew that I needed to transition into something else. And so you guys were literally the inspiration for me to hone in on the Nintendo thing, because the stuff that I was doing in the past was still video game or pop culture related, but it was much more widespread. Yeah. It was not focused on Nintendo. Yeah. You know? So that was where the idea kind of came about. And my co-host that I do All In with, Eric, who is great. You should have him on this. He's a really interesting guy. You should have him on sometime.
He's on the hit list. He doesn't. Well, I guess he knows now. Maybe. Hey, Eric, you're on the list.
He is an interesting dude. He's had an interesting life, military background and stuff. He's a really interesting guy. Anyway. He and I had been kind of like Nintendo. He was like my Nintendo friend. Yeah, man. You know? Like, yep. Like he was the only other person that I'd ever met that was as passionate about Nintendo as I was, and as knowledgeable as I am about it.
Which is funny that you say that, because given that we're talking about this community of podcasters who are like all, and pardon the pun, all in on Nintendo.
You owe me $20.
There is a point in time in our lives where send it a Canadian. I'll send the check in the mail. There's like, we now know that there's like this big community of people who are all in on this stuff, but like in a moment in our lives, like there's our one friend, like you're my Nintendo guy. Like that's super fun for us to have. It's so, I just think that's super interesting that it goes from that to all of this, man. Yeah.
So it kind of became like we got together and we were like, hey, like let's actually do this. We had wanted to work together on something for a while. Yeah. So it was like, let's finally do it. Let's do this podcast thing. And we just did it. We just did the dang thing. Yeah, like man. We just made it. We sat down and we decided what it was going to be. He came up with the name, and I got key art made, and we just did it. The first few episodes were recorded. He was on his phone. You know what I mean? It sounds like crap. You know,
those are the early days of the Xbox Drive, man. It was me on my phone with the headset that comes with the iPhone. Like that was it, dude. Like it was just somehow my cell phone reception now is worse. I don't know what is going on, but that's a story for another day. It's funny that you say that you got the focus on Nintendo from us, because Bobby got that from Justin Masson. I don't know if you know that story at all, but like the whole, like Bobby was the geek guru. But he, like, and I was actually going through Bobby's channels the other day because it kind of hit me as I'm getting into comics these days. I don't know what has come over me with this, but I'm like obsessed with this idea of like I want to like read all the things. It finally is clicking for me. I'm tapping into this like nerd energy. I'm just like unbridled. Sure. Like as an adult, married, 2 kids, I've got nothing to prove to nobody. I'm gonna geek out about freaking comics now, man. It is awesome, and it's fitting in my life. And I've got this shelf behind where I can put stuff. Like it's all, I'm doing what I want. I'm a grown ass man. I see the
Scott Pilgrim color edition, so you're already in good shape. That's all you need.
That's what actually will go down as the gateway. That was my on ramp. That will I have to remember that for future. But Bobby he did that. He went from I want to do all the things, and then he honed in on Nintendo. And yeah, man, like there are endless lessons to be taken from that man and his life and his legacy. Like it's not even just like how to do YouTube. It's like, man, how to be there for your friends and for your strangers from the internet. Like just how to be, man. Like I just will never forget him, dude. Like it's crazy. He's gone,
man. Yeah, it is. Yeah, he was such an inspiration to me because, and I never got to. It kills me. I never got to actually talk to him and meet him face to face because
he was. God, you guys would have. Oh, he would have loved you, man. Oh my gosh, yeah.
I literally like I had him. I literally, you can ask Eric. Like we had those conversations. Like as soon as Bobby gets out, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, dude. I never thought he wasn't gonna just get better.
It didn't enter into my calculus at all.
Me neither.
I was like. He will get out, and as soon as he does, we're having him on All In. He's going to be the first, and we never got to. But what really inspired me about Bobby is I don't know that I've ever seen somebody with such an impressive like work ethic,
big time,
and I think about him all the time. Even though I never met him, I felt like I did, because I think about his work ethic constantly.
Yeah,
because I'm sitting here. We make a long show, man. We make like a 3-hour show every week.
Yeah, you do,
and.
It sounds good. It's not like you just like, and it's well put together. It's well produced. You don't just like sit in front of a microphone for 3 hours and go like out into the internet.
I scrub through the entire.
You really
thing.
do, yeah, man.
I listen to every second of every episode of that show multiple times a week before I put it out.
Yeah, you can tell.
And I really appreciate hearing that from people who like hear the quality of it and appreciate it and stuff, because
makes me self-conscious, to be honest with you. If you guys could like back it off a little bit, like, because I don't do any of that. No, you guys do a phenomenal job with it.
No, I really do appreciate that. It really means a lot when I hear like peers, like people that I respect say that and like take notice of it, because
big time. How could you not?
I put so much work into it, man. And like there are times where I just get like, I literally am just like, oh my God, I cannot look at my computer for another second. Like my brain is numb. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I'll think about it. I'm like, dude, Bobby used to work full time, come home, and he had like a million. Everybody knows that dude had like a million shows. You know what I mean? And was constantly like charging through like with new show ideas. Yep. Was taking off with like Animal Crossing content and like churning this stuff out, and high quality. It wasn't like BS. Like he worked so hard, and I'm sure his sleep schedule was as terrible as mine is. Yep. And so I love and respect that guy so much. And he was such a big inspiration to the way I approach content creation, because like it's never enough work. Like you can never put too much work into it because you love what you're doing. And that was the vibe I got from him.
Well, and he got so much, like he just found ways to get something out of it. And I never mean like dollars. I never mean anything like that, but he always found like some sort of like intrinsic reward out of it. Whether it was like, I remember I was there when he got, I don't remember exactly what iPhone it was, but he got an iPhone. It was like the first one that did like 4K video. And he's like, well, now I'm doing vlogs. Like I was there and like I was with him. I was recording vlogs with him as he was doing. He was just getting into it, and he's like, "This is what I'm doing now. Like I'm gonna do this. I saw that like another dude do this, and I was inspired by that." And he did that for, I don't know, a little while. And I was like, and then he just kind of like decided whatever the next thing was. Like he never got too married to an idea. And I think in some cases, some people went like, "Oh, ha ha ha, Bobby's got a new show," and it's like, I think that there's something to be respected about that you can actually like have an idea, pay some dude for some artwork, fire up the podcast feed, do all the things you need to do, get your community hyped about it, and go like, nope, that's not working.
Just make it.
And just going on to the next thing. He was relentless on that, man. And like I said, there's so many elements to Bobby to unpack, and even just doing it on a content level is still surface. You can dive deep into his approach to content, and it's still kind of like, man, he's a whole person. Like exactly, totally. Like he would get angry comments in his YouTube, and like 2 months later, that person would be like a patron.
Turn him into fans.
He would actually turn him into a paying customer. Man, it was just like, what the heck? He taught me so much. Like we're coming up on like anniversaries and stuff, and that's gonna be tricky. But like this conversation has been like, it's nice to remember him, and every now and then I kind of have like a tough night, and but it's always like in celebration of him,
right?
Like that's and I feel like that's a choice for me to make, of like, I don't want to avoid it. I don't like, because it is painful to think about it, but I don't want to not, because I can't go like too long without thinking about it. You got me here, man. Holy crap.
Well, yeah, no. Did you see that? There's a really good Andrew Garfield moment on a talk show recently. I don't know where he was.
Yes, I just saw. Did you see about his mom? Oh yes, I just saw that.
And that's exactly what it is. Like the pain and the hurt is just like, that is just the way that you're loving them still.
Oh,
you know?
man. There was a
That's
line,
totally
I think it was it on WandaVision? I think it was on WandaVision, which was just kind of happening just as he passed. And I didn't watch it, but Lee Navarro reached out to me. And he's like, there was this line in this thing. It was, and I think Vision said it. I was just like, oh, damn. And people who have watched it know exactly what I'm talking about. And I won't butcher the line.
Yeah, it's the, what is grief if not love persevering?
There you go. Yeah, that's it. Like, again, like, that's the thing that I could put up in this room somewhere, because it's like, that's it. And it happened right at that moment, my dude. So
yeah, man.
Oh, man. Damn it. You got me with this. Dude. Damn it.
It's just true. So I just, you know, so the TLDR, I guess, of that is just like, you guys were such an inspiration to me. And I think that a lot of us, to circle all the way back to like 30 minutes ago or whatever it was when we were talking about the podcasts that spurred up from everybody.
Yeah, this community. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree that Bobby passing has like just, it has accelerated my like, and I feel like I was already looking for people like you and like Bobby and like whoever else. Like, let's do this together. Let's learn from each other and be friends and support each other and all these things. And it's like that, him passing kind of accelerated. Like, there's no time to waste, man. Right. There is like, every day is important. And it's like, I'm thankful that I wake up and it's here and life is awesome. Like, that is all. When I talk about like how I live life differently now versus a year ago, like, he was sick in the hospital a year ago and I still wasn't quite here. Right. So, and I have to turn his passing into a positive like that. But at the same time, I'm like, kind of wish I could learn that lesson without that very significant kind of event happening. That'd be awesome to just still have him here and still have this appreciation. But I don't know that I could have both in this moment, to be honest with you. Right. To like wake up with that perspective and that outlook and him still be here. I think that I have to pull that out of there, man. Holy crap. Well, you know, Andros he's a wonderful guy and Micah is great. And they were talking about Fortnite tonight, by the way. I jumped into their show just before we jumped on here. So that was, it's funny how that all comes full circle. On your show, you had mentioned something, and I apologize if you've kind of dove into this in greater detail somewhere along the lines, but you mentioned Hanukkah and Christmas in the same sentence. Mm-hmm. Do you use what is that? Are you celebrating both? Is this part of the family dynamic? I got this as I'm like, okay, I think I got part of my answer.
My family's
there.
Weird.
Okay,
my family's weird. Yeah. So my parents, I guess it would have been like 6-ish years ago now, converted to Judaism. Yeah. And when I say my parents, I mean my mother, my biological mother, and my stepdad, and my brother and sister, my kind of like immediate family that all live here in Louisiana. Wow. Like 10 minutes away from me. Yeah. So they converted to Judaism, and I was really kind of apprehensive about it at first because I've always loved Christmas. Right. I'm a huge Christmas guy. Mm-hmm. I love Christmas. I was talking about this with my wife. It's like the one holiday where the entire point is just joy, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, well said. It's about giving, and it's about like, even Thanksgiving isn't really about giving. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's Christmas is just about making people happy and being happy with the people you love. Yeah, man. And I think that's what's always resonated with me about it. And so I was like, hang on a minute. Like, all of a sudden we're not celebrating Christmas anymore. Like, pump the brakes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. and they were like, I mean, literally my mom was like giving away Christmas ornaments that we had for 30 years. You know what I mean? Wow. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, give me those. Like, those mean something to me. You know what I mean? And so they just like ditched Christmas full stop. Wow. And it went in, you know, full on into. It's actually kind of funny. Hanukkah's not a super like religiously charged holiday. Right. Like, a lot of people look at it and they're like, that's Jew Christmas, but it's really not. You know, it's it's really just like a big party. A lot of Jewish holidays are just big parties. It's not even one of the high holy days, actually. It's like a celebration of like a wartime miracle, Hanukkah. It's the festival of lights, you know. So anyway, so I celebrate Hanukkah with my family and embrace that part of their culture. So cool. Not as like a practicing Jewish man or anything like that. I don't, you know, read or study like my parents do. But I celebrate that with them because it's an interesting part of the culture. I embrace it because I love them. I love every piece of them. You know what I mean? Big time.
I love that.
And then with my wife and I, we just kind of do our own little, like our house is all Christmased out. You know, we do our little Christmas. You know.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the yarmulke you're wearing looks a little oversized. Like it looks just.
Yeah, it's not quite a yarmulke. Yeah, this is like
it's a beanie for
super
anybody that's audio listening. Yeah.
I've had this beanie for like 15 years. It's all beat up.
I wish I could pull off a beanie, man. You pull it off so good, man. I think it is the coolest thing. There's not a chance I could pull that off. I love it.
I have an enormous head, so I need something to, to cover that.
Self-deprecating humor I know all too well, man. How long is it taking you to grow out that magnificent beard, though?
Oh my gosh, I have worn a beard.
You were born with it. You must have been born with it.
Yeah, basically, yeah, or maybe it's Maybelline. But no, I was words out of my mouth.
Maybe he's born with it.
We're gonna waltz through that dad joke there. I'll have my wife take a pregnancy test later. But no, I've had this beard. I have been wearing my facial hair for like 15 years.
Yeah.
I started growing a beard when I was
you were
like
15
years old.
Oh my gosh.
I was like 13 years old when I first
you were
started
that
growing.
Kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other kids were so jealous, like, oh, he's got a mustache.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe that's why they picked on me. I don't know. But it's
what's the routine though? Because I can't actually tell. Like sometimes you look at a beard, like it's clearly that's the beard, but you have like a mix of beard and hair, and it's
hair.
Like, well, that is great, man. Holy crap.
Yeah, I sort of just go for like the lion thing. It's actually, it's funny. My wife. It's another thing that my wife taught me because I didn't take care of my hair whatsoever until I met my wife. She's like, no, you've been doing it all wrong this whole time. Like you can't just use like the 12-in-1 men's crap, you know what I mean?
If there's one thing, I know we've talked about a lot today, Seth, but if there's one thing that, and maybe producer Ryan can like make a thumbnail out of this as well, like do not use the 12-in-1s, even the 3, like just the 1-in-1s are good. Like soap for soap. Yeah, shampoo for shampoo, condition. Like, let's.
Oh yeah,
back to basics, like, boys. Come on.
I met my wife and I was like, "What conditioner? What the heck is that?" You know what I mean?
Amazing.
So I literally was just like murdering my hair, and anyway, so now I actually take care of it, and I just kind of let it go.
Yeah,
really,
it's magnificent, man.
Thank you. I just kind of let it do its thing.
That's really good. Well, hey, man, what do you like think about 2021 overall? Like we're kind of coming into the end of the year. You get a special spot on We the GamerCast as we're kind of closing out the calendar year. I didn't give you any heads up, and I don't typically do, but like we're sort of in this like game of the year kind of conversation, like, you know, reflecting on the calendar year of video games. And I, for one, feel like I've, you know, speaking of living life differently this year versus last year, I kind of stopped pooing on Nintendo for everything, and I think I'm happier. Like I'm not even just talking about like when I podcast about it, I think just overall my joy level is higher because I've kind of, I don't think that I let them off the hook necessarily, but I do think that like when something like NSO plus expansion pass dropped, I was like okay with it, and I think there's a direct correlation with that in my where I'm at right now in December. Usually I'm a mess by this point. Usually there's like crushing anxiety and all these other things. I'm like, I'm kind of good. I'm kind of okay. So thankfully, I think it's because I was, not quite so harsh on Nintendo this year, but I've rambled on long enough to give you a little time to think about it. How is 2021 from like a Nintendo standpoint? Like, are you pissed? Are you stoked? Are you kind of like whatever? Like more what's happening next year? Like, let's see what's going on there.
Yeah, I'm more so I don't like to dwell on like what it could be or like what I wish it were. I just kind of take it for what it is.
That means you didn't like it.
No, I did. I thought it was actually a pretty strong year for Nintendo. I know there was a lot of people who like there was some weirdness about like coming into the holiday season. Like, is a Pokemon remake really their big game? You know?
Yeah. Yes.
But I didn't really like care about any of that because for me, I just like these video games.
Yeah.
Like, I just think this is awesome that I have these video games. The NSO thing's a great example of like, I felt like I was one of the only people on the internet that was like, actually, I really like this. Like,
yeah.
And And I feel like it's actually a good deal for me and my family. And if it isn't for you, and if you don't feel like it is, then just don't buy it. Like, who cares?
Well, before you don't buy it, post 10 videos on your YouTube channel about how you're not going to be buying it, and nobody else should as well. Yeah.
I'm a huge vote with your wallet advocate. You know, like who cares? Like, and we all have, like, I own the NSO expansion pack. I've played the N64 games like twice, you know,
same,
but I like having them.
Same.
You know.
Yeah. I'm the kind of guy, like, and we just did this on the Nintendo Drive where, like, Kato and I, especially Kato and I, like, it should be Ryan Turford buying 20 games because he'll play them. And Kato and I are just like, she's going to play Animal Crossing for the next 14,000 hours of her life. And I'm going to do everything but, like, apparently Halo's come out and that's all I'm probably thinking about playing over the next little while.
Right.
But I buy them because I don't know, like I don't know. There's nothing smart or logical or rational about it. I don't really get a whole lot of that in my life to just like be kind of dumb with some stuff. And it's like,
that's
whatever,
the thing.
man.
Who cares? It doesn't have to be. It's video games, y'all.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's what I keep saying. I'm like, it's video games. Like, who cares? Remember when we were kids and we just bought things because the stupid cover art looked good?
Yes.
Like, you know,
a lot.
Like, who cares? Yeah, like, it's just video game. And like, I would bring home a game that had cool cover art, but the game was bad, and I didn't like go rage on, you know, on forums or whatever. I was just like, you know, all right, cool. You live and learn. You know what I mean? And if you don't like a game or if you don't like what's going on with NSO, you don't have to buy it.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't like yucking somebody else's yum. You know, I just don't. I've never been that guy. Just do your thing. Enjoy what you like.
What's the game that jumped out to you? And maybe you can include Paper Mario at this point, but like, what's the game that went like, ooh, this is neat? Like for me, I actually thought I saw Perfect Dark for a second, but it was like Win Back or something. What the heck was
Win
that
Back?
One? Yeah. Like, okay, yeah. I was surprised to see Banjo in there. Like,
it was
that was
Banjo
one thing
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see behind me. I have a little banjo shrine behind me. It's one of my Banjo is one of my favorite games of all time. I love
Jacob
that
Rush
game.
would love to see that too, man. Speaking of Nintendo community, holy crap! I think this is going to go up after the Game Awards, even for patrons. But mark my words, we're recording this before the Game Awards. I think Banjo's showing up. Like, I just want to put it out there. Like, I feel like, man, I should have done like some sort of prediction.
So hang on, like Banjo coming to NSO or like Banjo 3.
I think Banjo. I think Microsoft is doing it. I think an Xbox Banjo thing is happening. Yeah, I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna do. And I don't know. Maybe this is kind of like a weak prediction. Like, Banjo's gonna be there. Like, oh, good for you, Nostradamus. Like I don't know if it's like a nuts and bolts 2 kind of game, or if like they remaster the first one. I don't think that they'll do that. I feel like they've kind of done what they will with those ones, and 360 versions and all that kind of stuff. I do think that they'll have like a 2023 version of the game, kind of like what they've done, I think, over in Sony Land with Ratchet and Clank. Like, it could be almost like the first one, but I don't know what you call that, reimagining or remake or whatever the hell. But I think, I think Banjo's going to show up. I think Banjo is due.
Look, I would love for you to be right, and I honestly, my thing when it comes to Banjo is, and I hate to say that, I'm just being real here because I love Banjo so much, but I just don't know how much business sense it makes to put a new Banjo game out with like a lot of money behind it. If they were to do it, I think they'd be smart to do it on like an indie scale. If they were to do it, they'd be smart to kind of like rein it in. If they were to get like a Double Fine on it, you know, and they were to let them kind of like take a crack at it with the measure of like Psychonauts 2 is a big game, but it kind of feels indie still. You know what I mean?
It seems like
in a weird
started,
way.
but it does seem like it started out indie, and then they got like found money kind of midway through, so it still has its roots, you know.
I guess it just, I feel like they could give that to a smaller studio. I think the only way to make it feasibly is to give it to a smaller studio, not break the bank on it, and not have high expectations for it. Because if they make Rare do it properly and put a ton of money into, 3D platformers are not, they're not selling, especially today where video games have to sell more than ever to be considered successful. 3D platformer is not going to fly off the shelves.
Yeah, but it's Banjo. It's Banjo.
It's Banjo, but like guys like you and I mean, my nephews don't know who the hell Banjo-Kazooie are.
I guess, yeah.
But
nobody knew your nephews don't know what Metroid is. Like, I don't know. I don't know. There's something to be said about we are like the age group who grew up with this stuff as kids, and now like we have the money to buy it again. Like, I think that's part of my rationale here is like, even Halo today, by the time this comes out, people will have I'm sure played it at least a little bit. 20-year-old game, man. And it took a little dip in there where it wasn't really sure what it was. And 20 years later, it's back, dude. So I think we're going to see a lot of this. But I don't mean to argue on the point, because I have no inside knowledge on this at all. I just kind of, for whatever reason, like if this happens and like nobody else is calling for it, and I get to be super right about it. So there.
I hope so. I would love nothing more for you to be 100% right. What I will say is that Microsoft seems, more than basically any other company, I think Microsoft seems to value fan service more than Sony or PlayStation. And I think that they might be willing to take a bite financially for what they gain in terms of like the fan appreciation of it. I think they might be willing to take a little bit of a bite on that, because they know how much Banjo-Kazooie would mean to a subset of people.
So, you don't have to sell copies of it either. It's Game Pass. Like, you just like another reason to be on Game Pass. Like, it just like the expectations are kind of different. But yeah, like I don't know, man. What was one of the games, like for me on Nintendo, I think Skyward Sword was my biggest surprise, which is so weird because I played the game before. How the hell did it actually surprise me? But when I think about like some of my favorite times on Switch this year, I think it was probably Skyward Sword, and like both, I think the surprise of it just amplified it, which is kind of a chicken and egg kind of thing. But I just really, really loved my time with it. And yeah, man, that was the highlight for me for sure.
It's so funny because I know when we do our all-in game of the year discussions, I know this is not going to end up winning, but I am going to make a strong push for No More Heroes 3.
Oh, shout out
really
Donnie.
love
Nice.
that game. I really, really love that game. Warts and all, as I get older, I am looking for games to show me something I haven't seen before. To give me something unique. And as much as I love Metroid, that was a phenomenal game. Probably does deserve Game of the Year, right? But it wasn't like constantly wowing me or making me like when I was playing No More Heroes 3, 99% of the time I was just like just giddy with my hands on my face. Like, what? Like, no, this is not happening right now, you know? And that feeling is so rare. That feeling of surprise and wonderment is so rare. And that's why, like, I make a show called Keep Nintendo Weird. And that is what I love about, like, weird Nintendo is the surprise and delight, the things that I've never seen before. That is such a rare thing now. And I'm coming to look for that more and more in my video games.
Do you have like blind spots in your gaming? Like, do you have games that you've missed? Like, like what kind of comes to mind for you? Because like maybe there's some surprises in there too.
Sure, yeah. Like, I've never played a SMT5 just came out. I've never played a Shin Megami Tensei game.
I think that's probably okay.
That's probably okay.
I think you're fine.
I'm probably fine on that. I don't have like huge glaring ones. It's more so just like every now and then one will come up in conversation. I'm like, ooh, like, you know, gamer confession, take away the gamer card or whatever, you know. It's
like Final Fantasy is that for me. Like, I've tried so many. Like, I think the most I've played a Final Fantasy game is maybe 9, and I'm maybe like 10 hours into it. Like, tops. And I feel like, and that's on my Switch as well. I have a bunch of them on my Vita for some reason. I bought 15 when that came out as well. Like, I just keep skipping off of it, man. I don't know why. I'd love to settle in on that. But yeah, Final Fantasy is a big one. Like, I haven't really gotten past breaking out of prison in Skyrim. Like, I've gotten on that wagon. Sure. You know, that's basically it.
It was for a long time it was Dragon Quest, and I got really, really into Dragon Quest 11. Nice. That's the first and only game I played. But that for a long time that was it for me. I don't know. It's usually the opposite for me. I usually have the opposite reaction where I'm like, oh, like I didn't realize I was one of 5 people who played Phantom Dust. You know what I mean? Like, it's usually the opposite for me. I normally play the weird stuff, I guess.
Oh, I love it. I love it, man. Well, dude, I could talk to you for hours and hours. I really appreciate this. I feel like this felt good, man. Thank you so much for carving out time. And I know the scheduling stuff is like, it's late over there. So appreciate you. Do you want to tell we talked a lot about your content. Do you want to tell the fine folks out there where they can find it all and what it is and all that good stuff?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I've learned, so I don't remember who it was, but somebody in the community was like, you should spell it. It took me forever. Your name is not SEO friendly.
No.
And it's not. So I make All N a Nintendo podcast. It's ALLN, like the letter N, like Nintendo. All N. If you search All N Nintendo podcast, you'll find it. And it's a weekly Nintendo variety show where my co-host Eric and I cover all the different aspects of being a Nintendo fan. We try to make it different every week. So every week we do like a weekly top 5. We spotlight an indie game on the eShop, and then we have kind of a revolving segment where it could be anything from a review to like a discussion. Like we had you on to talk about like Xbox and Nintendo. Yeah, we try to shake it up every week. You can find that on any podcast feed, and if it's not on the podcast feed that you would like it to be on, let me know. And I'll get it there.
Dude, it's there now.
We just got there. We just got on Podchaser. So I mean, look, let me know if you're like, hey, I want to listen to you on, I don't know, whatever the heck. If I'm not on there, let me know.
iHeartRadio. Let's get you on iHeartRadio, man.
I will go on iHeartRadio, dude. I don't care. Anywhere you can listen.
As you learned in this instant that's a thing that exists.
Yeah. I think I had that app on like my Xbox 360. That's the only reason I know it exists.
Get you on Zune Marketplace.
Yeah, dude, listen to me on your Zune. I would love that. Nothing would make me happier.
Dude, and how amazing. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but like I have to actually write this down. Patreon perk in 2022 is at a certain level, you're going to get all the episodes of We the Gamercast on a mini disc. Like we'll send it up for you to play on like a freaking mini. Yeah, we're
burn it on a CD.
We're burning it onto a CD. Yeah, mini disc. Oh my gosh, dude.
Oh my gosh. This is going
on the Notebook.
Sign me up. Yes. So anyway, that's
like,
all in.
Thank you, dude. Yeah. Links are in the show notes for sure. You know, that's the other side of it too. I try to make sure it's like super easy, you know, support Seth on all these things. I'm going to do this all in the outro as well, but dude, I have had an absolute joyous pleasure, all the good things, chatting with you tonight. Thank you so much. And that I'm just going to end it here if that's okay with you.
Sure. Absolutely. I appreciate it, man.
We just became best friends. You're stuck with me now, Seth. That's it. I'm gonna be bugging you on a bi-daily basis. Bi-daily? Bi-weekly? Every second day. Whatever. A regular, consistent, frequent. That's what's gonna happen, Seth. I hope you guys enjoyed that because I feel very strongly that was a good one. I feel real good. Gonna pat myself on the back for that. I hope you guys are doing good. The kids, what the hell are you guys doing upstairs? Recording a podcast down here. Holy crap. Oh my gosh, there's so much stomping. I wanted to tell you guys something at the start, but I kind of got carried away with a bunch of stuff. Tony Baker, Marcus O'Neill, friends of the show, both of them been on the show, actually. Good friends, live in the city here. They were over, we watched the Game Awards together. That was amazing. And I'm telling you guys, 2022, we're doing more of that. First of all, Marcus and Tony, you're coming over more, or we're getting together more, because like the last like year and a half, I mean, it's been a thing. For a long time, we weren't even allowed to do it, so there's that. So we're gonna do more of that, more get-togethers, more community meetups, more of this stuff. I'm telling you, it's what life is for. Or maybe there's more to it, but at least we can do that, because I could also say like life is for enjoying my coffee or enjoying whatever's in front of us. I am practicing this December, this November, this tough time of the year, just with gratitude, man. Every day is a gift, even though my kids are making noise upstairs. Maybe if I yell at them a little bit, they'll get the hint. But there's only a couple minutes here. I only do one take as well. If you enjoy the show, by the way, leave a comment on youtube.com/YumiCapri. Just to let me know what you guys thought. If there was a moment that spoke to you, leave a comment. I would love that very, very much. Thank you to Ryan Turford for all the production, by the way. None of this happens without Ryan, or at least the YouTube stuff doesn't happen without Ryan. I do the audio for this, so there's that. But all the other stuff, Ryan Turford. Shout out to Ryan Turford. If that's the shout out you want to give on the YouTube channel, just say I'm here for Ryan Turford right in there. And that'll be damn it, I'm stealing the thing from Drew from House of Mario. I've always wanted, I love that idea so much. Putting a secret code at the end of the show for the cool people who made it all the way to the end. Yes, you cool people. You guys, my thanks to Court Lalonde, as I have like 30 seconds here. Court Lalonde got me on this website. Maybe I'll tell you guys about next week. buying comics on a website is a bad idea, and it's getting out of hand. I'll tell you more about it. We're talking comics in podcast form in 2022. I can't wait to tell you guys more about that. Now it's the end. Okay, bye.
Jason! 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 Sean! 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 Sean, where are you? Jason! 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 Sean! 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 Jason! 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 Jason!